for you to dominate the way you did, because a lot of people had that like a pick 'em fight. Like a lot of people didn't know how to call it, but you just ran that fight. Just the way you controlled, the way you switched things up, the way you controlled the pace of the fight, the defense, your defense was on point. Those hooks that you were landing in close were magnificent.
You know, he said that he ruined his career with that. Maybe he's blaming that for his loss against Crawford. I don't know, but he accomplished a lot.
Joe Rogan didn't have to criticize Errol Spence directly. His praise for Terence Crawford said it all. Rogan called Crawford's performance magnificent and brilliant, pointing out that he completely dominated one of the most watched boxing events in recent years. Even casual fans tuned in and saw Crawford prove he's the undisputed #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Rogan's genuine admiration highlighted Crawford's unmatched skill, and without saying Spence's name, he made it clear who the superior fighter was. It was a masterclass in subtle disrespect, lifting Crawford so high that it left Spence in the shadows.
Of the year.
Cracker of the year, that's right.
Yeah, I try to use X as a good platform to bring laughter, bringing humor back and comedy, making people feel good.
Well, you can get wild.
Yeah, I get a little wild sometimes.
You can get wild on X.
Yeah, you could get a little wild on X, but I try to...
Joe Rogan exposed the gap between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford in a way no one could deny. While he acknowledged Spence as a great fighter, Rogan made it clear that Crawford is on another level, an all-time great. He emphasized the significance of watching a top-tier fighter like Spence get outclassed by someone operating in a completely different stratosphere. Without tearing Spence down, Rogan elevated Crawford so high that the difference became impossible to ignore. He shut down the pre-fight doubt with pure, undeniable facts.
Well, the wise people picked you as a favorite, just based on your accomplishments. It's not like Errol Spence wasn't a great fighter. He's a great fighter, but it's so interesting when you watch a great fighter against what I believe is an all-time great. It's just that there's just levels upon levels upon levels upon levels. And right now, you're at the top of the mountain.
yes. And I'm enjoying it.
Beautiful. You deserve it. That's when you planned for that fight, you knew that you were probably going to fight him. Like for the last few years, it was something that was on the table.
But not really. There was a point in time where I was like, I shifted gears and I shifted my mind off of Errol Spence because I didn't feel like the fight was going to happen.
Despite getting dismantled by Terence Crawford, Errol Spence is still talking like Crawford has something to prove. By suggesting that Crawford should fight Canelo Alvarez to be considered great, Spence is shifting the goalposts. Before their fight, Crawford was the challenge Spence needed to conquer. Now, after getting dominated, he's acting like Crawford needs to chase something else. It feels like an attempt to avoid acknowledging just how badly he was outclassed, but the reality is simple. Crawford's already at the top. If anyone's chasing now, it's Spence trying to catch up.
It could happen. Why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great, So, I'm with it. So, I'll be going for Bud. If he fight Canelo, I'll be going for him. I don't know if he gonna win or lose, but I definitely be going for Crawford. I think if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off. Yeah. He's chasing greatness, so why not? Canelo came up to 175 and all that, and fought Kovalev and fought the other guy too. So if he can do it, he started at 147. So if he's doing it, why can't Crawford do it?
Or Mikey. Garcia's comments about Errol Spence's lifestyle shine a light on a bigger issue: dedication. Garcia didn't hold back. He stressed that to reach elite levels, a fighter has to avoid substances, late nights, and distractions. Spence's history with drinking, especially after his 2019 drunk driving accident, has long raised concerns. While he returned to win fights, questions lingered about how much his habits were affecting his long-term performance. Now, after a brutal loss to Crawford, even Spence seems to admit that his lifestyle may have played a role in his downfall.
I was never drinking. I was never out there. You gotta take care of your body. You gotta be healthy. You gotta fucking train. You gotta be eating right. No alcohol, no drugs. I agree with all that. We always tell all the fighters, when you're fighting, you gotta fucking dedicate it. Can't be staying up late, partying, fucking drinking. No, you gotta dedicate yourself, bro. If you don't dedicate yourself like that, then you're only limiting your abilities. You're limiting your growth. You're limiting your potential.
And your window of opportunity.
Yeah. So you gotta take advantage while you're there. Dedicate 100%. So I agree with all that. Now, I don't know what's going on with him. He said that he ruined his career with that.
Mikey Garcia also pointed to something deeper. If Spence is now saying drinking ruined his career, it means he sees the damage he's done to himself. The lack of sharpness against Crawford, his timing, reflexes, and stamina may not have just been about skills. If alcohol was a factor, Spence's biggest opponent wasn't Crawford. It was himself. Lack of discipline can end careers just as fast as any knockout punch.
What's going on with him? He said that he ruined his career with that. Maybe he's blaming that for his loss against Crawford. I don't know, but he accomplished a lot prior to that.
Right.
So I don't know how
You
much
meant it as
more.
the drinking was like a factor.
Or maybe now he just realized that, hey, it's not fucking good. I was drinking a lot, before the fights, in between fights, or maybe after the fight, after the crowd fight, I've been drinking way too much. I ignored my responsibilities. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just
Roy Jones Jr. gave Crawford his flowers, recognizing his skill, intelligence, and ability to fight from both stances with ease. Jones sees Crawford as a once-in-a-generation fighter, potentially capable of moving up in weight to face someone like Canelo Alvarez. But when it comes to a rematch with Spence, Jones made an important point. Spence needs to recover physically first. With his weight struggles and past injuries, rushing back into the ring could do more harm than good. Jones believes Crawford has two clear paths, either move up and chase more glory, or retire at the top. And either way, he's already won. Of the all-time greats,
Do the rematch and then go for other fights, or do you think this is kind of like the cherry on top, and after this he should more or less retire on top?
Bud has two options. A, he can continue going up in weight, see how far he can go. I think he said already 54 is his max. So he could campaign that going to 54, maybe doing a rematch, or like I said, let Errol get himself back together first when it makes more sense, then do a rematch. You understand me? So for me, to let Errol get himself together first, then do a rematch is much better. To fight him right now, it's not good because, like I said, just the weight gain was not the only problem.
in their first bout on July 29, 2023, both Crawford and Spence made weight, but it was Crawford who made history. Winning by 9th round TKO, he became the first male boxer in the four-belt era to become undisputed champion in 2 weight classes. As talks of a rematch grow, Showtime's Steven Espinoza emphasized one thing: Spence's health must come first. Given his eye injury and car accident, a move to 154 pounds might be better. For any rematch to matter, both fighters need to be 100%, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally ready for war.
This true? Like, I read that Crawford can choose the weight. Is that accurate?
Not completely. Not completely. I mean, there are some other parameters I don't want to get into, but weight shouldn't be, if there's a legitimate difference. You know, one guy is legitimately going to 154, one guy is legitimately staying at 47, then, you know, that's a reason a fight can't be made. But weight can't be used as an excuse and sort of say, I don't feel like it. Like, I'll go up to for this guy, but not another guy. So, you know, that's sort of the spirit. The language is very, you know, more precise and very definitive. But the concept is, out of fairness, is, let's not be selective. You know, there are some conditions in which, you know, it wouldn't happen. I mean, weight is one thing. If they can't agree on weight, you know, that's it. But, you know, money is set, all the other parameters are set. You know, weight is one of the few examples where, you know, that could be the obstacle.
Crawford's destruction of Spence solidified his legacy, but his post-fight actions stirred some controversy. While fans and analysts praised his performance, some criticized Crawford for not showing enough respect to Spence afterward. His confidence came off as arrogance to some, and it raised questions about his sportsmanship. Can a champion's legacy rely solely on talent, or does how you carry yourself matter just as much? Crawford's greatness isn't in question, but His humility, some argue, might...
That's dope, man.
And I really appreciate you just being a regular dude who's very, 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 very skilled at something. I'm glad you're getting your flowers, and I hope the biggest of bags come your way in these next few years with how things play out for you, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Because you earned
bro.
it. You earned it, bro.
And you gave us, listen, entertainment. You know what I mean? From beginning to end, it was a real display. So we appreciate you taking time, bro.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me, man. I appreciate it.
Before we go, how soon will we get the rematch? Do you know that calendar? You know how that calendar is going to play out?
Probably, if it happened, it'd probably be the end of this year.
That's soon.
The next, yeah.
Like a December situation, probably, something like that?
Yeah.
There you
All
go.
right.
Terence Bud Crawford, the undisputed welterweight champion of the world.
Nice Howard Cosell there, you bro.
And the aftermath of the fight wasn't just about Crawford's win, it was about the damage Spence took. From eye injuries to lingering effects of his past car crash, Spence needed time to recover. That's why the rematch hasn't happened yet. Crawford has expressed interest in a second fight, but only when Spence is fully healed and ready. Fans want it, but they also know the rematch needs to be competitive. A healthy Spence could change the story, but until then, the boxing world waits.
The fact that Spence, right away, he's like, rematch 54. You know, that tells me he can't make 47 anymore. He doesn't care about the titles. He don't care about undisputed. He's just trying to win at this point, you know, and that just tells me there's no chance that he's making 47 because he didn't even care about the titles anymore. We just said rematch 154. Let's do it. Like, he didn't mention undisputed. He didn't mention championships. He didn't mention like Canelo. I know Canelo said, hey, he beat me at 75. I want to beat him at 75. Spence was like, fuck that, 54, you know. So yeah, that tells me a lot, but not surprised. I am surprised it's in December. I don't know if that's accurate or true, or if that's actually going to happen, but I don't think that's enough time for Spence to recover.
Not everyone thinks a rematch is a good idea. Spence's loss was more than just a defeat. It was a beating that raised serious concerns about his long-term health. Given his past injuries, especially to the eye, some believe another fight could do more harm than good. If Spence isn't at 100%, another one-sided loss could damage not just his health, but his legacy. And if Crawford dominates again, the rematch might feel unnecessary. For it to be meaningful, both men need to be fully prepared. Otherwise, it risks doing more harm than good for both fighters and the sport.
Getting him up out of here one more time. Why do we want to see that? I mean, that's you know, I think it's bad for boxing. If he does the same thing again, he puts it on Spence again like that. I mean, you almost ruin it could almost ruin a career. You know, you taking two things like that. You know,
brutal beatdowns.
Yeah,
I can see that.
You know what I mean?
Spence doesn't want that work again.
And that's it for today's video. Make sure to stay tuned for more updates on the Crawford vs. Spence saga. Like, comment, and subscribe for all things boxing. Catch you in the next one!